All right, so for our bell work, we're going to fill in this table here. So just go ahead and pause the video and write down all this stuff here. So hopefully you paused it. This is all the stuff that we wrote down yesterday. So it's the exact same stuff yesterday, but we're actually going to use it now to graph. So we have to go through each step. So for my first problem down here, remember the first thing we need to do is intercepts and asymptotes. So I'm going to do my y-intercept is going to be 0 over 0 minus 4. So I get 0. So 0, 0 is my y-intercept. Horizontal asymptote. The bottom has a higher exponent, so that gives me y equals 0. Second, I have to factor. So now, x-intercept is a top equal to 0. So my x-intercept is just x equals 0. So we just get 0, 0. The vertical asymptotes are my bottom equaling 0. So I'm going to get x equals -2 and x equals +2. I'm just trying to write the smallest to the largest. And then holes, there were no holes because nothing canceled out for me. So there's no holes. My domain would be excluding my vertical asymptotes. And then my range is going to be -infinity to infinity on this one. And the only reason I know that is because I know what the graph looks like. But so let's plot everything we know. So I know at 0, 0, there's a dot. I also know that there's a dotted line going in this direction at 0, 0. There's also a dotted line at -2, that's the vertical, and at +2. Sorry, excuse me. So I'm going to pick a dot in all these different areas. So we're going to make an XY graph. So I'm going to put an X at -3, because that's over here. I'm going to put one at -2, or sorry, -3, at -1, at 1, and at 3. So I'm going to put that back into the original equation. So I'm doing 3 over 3 squared minus 4. So that's 3 over 5. So 3/5. Plug in -1. You get -1 over -1 squared minus 4. So that's -1 over -3. So we get 1/3. And then we get, so it's positive. That will be negative, and this will be 3/5. So this was a negative here. No, is it negative? Oh, yeah, because I plugged in a -3 right there. All right, so plotting these dots. So I'll go 1, 2, 3. So -3, -3/5 is right here. -1, 1/3 is like right here. 1, -1/3. And then 3, 3/5 is right here. So this tells us the quadrants we're in. So then so you have to look at this. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these two, you're only ever going to be in the top, bottom, top, bottom. So I see the camera's frozen on me. So I was saying these two top, bottom, these two top, bottom. So this one's in the bottom, so it's going to be in the bottom. This one's in the top, so it has to be in the top. Inside, you have to connect all three of these dots. So what this one's going to look like, it's going to look weird and go through all three of the dots like that right there. All right, let's go on to the back. So onto the back, find the y-intercept. You make everything 0. So that's going to give me, I'm just going to show you this one right here because I'm going to have kids coming in here soon. So what I did here is plugged in 0. I got 15 over -15 over -24. That reduces to 5/8. These are the same. So x squared over x squared gives you just 1. Second step is to factor. So this is how it factors here. These cancel, that creates a hole. This is what's left, and that's what we're going to be looking at. So the hole, what makes it 0? -3. So -3 plus 3. So I plug in -3 into the final answer over here, and that would give me -8 over -11. So that's why I made it positive. Now the vertical asymptote is setting your bottom equal to 0. So that gives me 8. And then remember, the x-intercept is the top equal to 0. So that's where it gives me 5, 0 at. My domain is excluding my hole and vertical asymptote. Range excluded my hole. And then the horizontal asymptote, we end up not crossing this time too. Because there was only one dotted line. So when there's only one dotted line for VA, you usually don't cross the horizontal. So what you would do is you'd make this dotted line here and this dotted line here. And then we made a point in each one. So we plotted the 0, 5/8, we plotted the x-intercept at 5 right here, and then we picked another dot if you wanted. So since this one was already down here, I'm going to plot your hole. Here's your hole. Since these already had 2 dots, I already knew it was going to be down here and up here, but you can always check one more point to make sure. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that there. I have to go open my door for pack real quick. Sorry. All right, so now on to the next question. So again, on this one here, so make all of these zeros. So I get -6 over -4. So my y-intercept is going to be 0, 3/2, because that's 6 over 4. The horizontal asymptote divide, so it's a 1 over 1, so I get 1. And next step is to factor. So factors of -6 to get 1. Nothing cancels, so under holes, I'm going to write none. Vertical asymptote are these bottoms right here equal to 0. So x equals 4 and x equals -1. X-intercepts are the top equaling to 0. So I have -3, 0, and 2, 0. So if I plot my information, so I have a dotted line right here, and then a dotted line at 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, I have an x-intercept at -3, 0, and at 2, 0. The y is at 0, 1.5. I know we have a horizontal asymptote right there. All right, so you can check other points. This dot's already down here, so I would not check another point down here because that's just to me. This one is on both sides of this, which tells me it's going to go like this, but you can always check another point. So let's check our last point, which I'm going to plug in 5 into the equation. So when I plug in 5 into this up here, I'm going to get out 4. Because you'd have 5 plus 3, 5 minus 2, 5 minus 4 over 5 plus 1. So that gives me 6 on bottom, 8 times 3 is 24. 24, 6 is 4. So that tells me 5, I am at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That tells me I'm up there. So this dot tells me I'm in this quadrant. This dot tells me I'm in this quadrant. And then this one right here is going to go through like that. But if you're unsure, you can always pick extra dots to graph them. So our very last one right down here, your y-intercept, make everything 0, so we get -10 over -6. So my y-intercept is going to be 0, 5/3. Horizontal asymptote, we're dividing. There's a 2x squared over an x squared, so it gives me 2. And then I have to factor it, and this is going to have to end up being the AC method, you guys. So if I did, here, I'm going to put it up here. I'd multiply -20 in order to get 1, because down here, remember you multiply your A and your C to get your middle. And so that would be, what, a 5 and a -4. And then you'd have to write out plus 5x minus 4x minus 10. And you'd have to group it using AC. So you take out your x, take out your -2. So that's how I'm coming up with x minus 2, 2x plus 5 on top. X minus 2, 2x plus 5 on top. The bottom is just -6 to get 1. That's x plus 3, x minus 2. So these cancel. Since they cancel, that creates a hole. So I have a hole at 2. And then when it cancels, I'm left with 2x plus 5 over x plus 3. So I put the 2 in there. So that's going to give me 4 plus 5. So it's 9 over 5. So it's 9/5. Now remember, your x-intercept is your top equal to 0. So this equal it to 0 and actually solve. Minus your 5, divide your 2. So I get -5/2, 0. And then my vertical asymptote is the bottom equal to 0. So it's -3. So let's plot everything we know. So I'm going to do a dotted line at -3. Horizontal asymptote at 2. We have a hole at 2, 9/5. So 1, 2. So that's almost 2, but not quite. So 2, so it's like right there. 0, 5/3 is like right here. And then negative 1, 2.50 is right here. So since all these dots are in here, I know it's going to go in this quadrant down here. And then the other ones should be up in this quadrant, but if you want to check, let's check 4, negative 4. So if you plug negative 4 into the equation up here and get 2 times negative 4 plus 5 over negative 4 plus 3. Negative 8 plus 5 is 3 over negative 3 over negative 1. So we get 3. So then it's up here to what I thought it was going to be, because these are usually opposites of each other. And so that's why the graph looks like that up there.